Hey guys, hope everything's going well for you. Welcome to week 2. Hope you all had a great week 1. I apologize for the video quality this week. So a couple things if you haven't figured this out already. I do not film these videos in an office. I'm a lecturer at West Oahu, and all the lecturers across every department share a office of sorts. It's more like one big room that has 2 or 3 smaller rooms that come off of it, and it's just too humbug to schedule time there. So these videos are all filmed in my bedroom. Speaking of which, I hope you all had a productive Monday day off, hopefully, unless you're working today, in which case I'm sorry. I had a pretty good day. Doing some stuff around the house. I'm painting my bedroom, so in the next couple weeks, if you're going to notice, hopefully the color of this wall will be changing. We'll see what happens, how it goes. Hopefully I like the color. Anyway, so week 1 is done. Alright, good job. On to week 2, but let's just do a little bit of looking back at last week. I have to say I got really excited last week with all of these videos that went up. I know several of you were just as excited as me. I got a couple comments and emails about, oh, this is the first blog or video I've ever done. I'm very excited. I'm glad you're excited. It makes me excited that you're excited. Those of you that were having a little bit of frustrations with it, I get that too. Some of my comments, it took me 4 hours last week to upload a video of 20 minutes. So we're going to try something, see after I get this done if it goes any faster. And I'll let you guys know if I kind of figure out the process here. But looking back at last week, love the videos, everyone. I really enjoyed getting to know you all. We have quite a variety of those of us that posted videos. I haven't checked attendance for a while, not attendance, the class roster. Last check we had 20, that was a couple days ago, but maybe people looked at this thing and decided, nah, too much work. So I'll check back, but I got about half of the 20 that of you that posted. Loved watching the videos. We got people from Maui, or living on Maui, people from New York, who are in various places, from Minnesota. Really interesting stuff. A lot of you are locals, born and raised here, living out various parts of the island. And some of you live close by where I live, so maybe we'll run into each other randomly one day, and you'll be like, hey, it's the person from the videos in my class. So we'll see if that happens. If you were one of the people who had some issues with logging onto the site, setting things up, no worries. There's some leeway these first weeks where I just want you to be able to get this figured out. I'm trying my best to help everyone. If I haven't helped you yet, or you haven't asked for help, then do contact me. I'm trying my best to get to everybody. But most of you have figured it out. Seems to be going okay. Some of you going above and beyond where you need to go, so that's great as well. So as far as if you can't get your video or post up this week, try to get them posted this week. And again, let me know if you can't. But in those that came up, we had people from everywhere. We had people from every major, though most of you are business people, which yay for you, but business, not my thing. I love it when I can get an English major, but go business. All right. Lots of you have switched schools. Some of you have been through almost every school in the UH system, it sounds like, going from Manoa and LCC and UH Hilo. You're trying them all out in West Oahu, so awesome for that. And that many of you have full-time jobs, kids, so I have to give you all credit. You make my life look easy with all that you're trying to do, so good for you. Keep it up. Keep pushing forward. On the blog last week, not the video, the blog itself, really interesting posts. I really enjoyed reading everyone's things. We were talking about ideology and hegemony and semiotics and political economy, right? All over the place, and lots of interesting stories about how music has been an influence in your life. I think almost everyone had something to say about music. Music is really powerful. When you're feeling a certain way, you can use it to either continue feeling that way or change your mood completely different. Music has such amazing power that way. Then there's TV shows. We had people who are fans of, I believe it was either Breaking Bad or Walking Dead. I can't remember. I seem to get those two confused all the time. The Kardashians. What else did we have? Let me go pull it up here while I'm looking through, filming this video. I can see why it's so much fun trying to navigate this thing. Alright, we had people influenced by reggae music, and the Kardashians and revenge, the fashion and revenge, right? The way that things that we hear, we see, can influence other things. I really enjoyed the post about revenge and the fashion. I think the Kardashians post also mentioned that. And then the Charlie's Angels with the Farrah Fawcett haircut, right? We all have a TV show, whether when we were younger or older, that definitely had some influence on us and made us change how we looked or how we acted or something. So really enjoyed reading those. You all did exactly what I was looking for, so keep it up. Talking a little bit more about hegemony and ideology. Someone mentioned this, which was really interesting. Ideology is all about how your beliefs and values, your system of beliefs and values, and how it shapes everything else that you do. Someone just slightly touched on religion as a ideology, which it definitely is, right? If you are someone who was born and raised in a church growing up, then that's going to totally influence how you see the rest of the world, right? Someone talked about communism. Someone also discussed, that was an interesting comment about how the reading for the week looked at ideology as a bad thing. And I really enjoyed how that post pushed beyond that and said, well, ideologies aren't always bad. They can shape you in good ways as well as negative ones. So I really enjoyed that you're pushing back against the readings, not just reading it and saying, okay, whatever you say, moving on. And I also, the first post I saw made me laugh. I was sitting looking at posts on my iPod while watching TV, of course, so I read something. The first post was about Disney and the Disney Channel, and I love the honesty there, and I'm not judging you. Every once in a while when I need a pick-me-up, Disney Channel works, right? And I totally understand the whole 7 stages of grief when you find out that your TV show is going to end, and so that was great. I love that kind of post. Looking through my notes here. So, talking about ideology and its link to hegemony. Hegemony is all about when one power or one group becomes dominant in power. And so talking about that ideology and how it's more viewed negatively by our reading when one ideology becomes dominant and that group that pushes it becomes dominant, they often are the controlling power and can influence other things. So you can even relate that to Disney. For a long time, right, they were able to push their ideologies because they were the dominant power in children's programming, children's movies, and I don't know about you guys, but when I was younger, there was more of a competition between Nickelodeon and Disney. Now it seems that Nickelodeon has kind of faded off the map quite a bit. I don't know, could be because I'm out of touch, don't know this stuff. But now Disney seems to be back in power again. So looking at how those work and the relationships between the different things. Okay. One thing I will encourage, and some people were kind of doing this, I saw some, hey, I remember you from a previous class kind of posts, but I highly encourage more communication between you guys. I know it was only week one, lots of other stuff going on, especially with the way that this class was so last minute for everyone, including myself. But do just comment on each other. It's not part of your grade to do so, but it's going to make it a lot easier when you have to start commenting on each other's papers and trying to do things and get feedback from people other than me. And plus, it'll just allow more of a community feel for this online platform. So one thing I push in my face-to-face classes is a little harder to do online. So I encourage it. I'm doing it a little bit myself. These check-in videos will be my main mode of doing that. I will pull out certain posts. I won't give names, but I'll pull out your post and you know who you are. And talk about it and say, hey, I really like that idea. Run with it. What do the rest of you think, and that kind of thing. So I think that's it for last week. Moving on to this week, we're getting into some of the nitty-gritty of the class. So this week, first thing that you will see on the schedule on your links on the side of the page is that we have our first essay assignment coming up, or you're getting it this week. So if you look at the essay prompt, that's going to give you all the information that you really need. But looking at it myself, things I wanted to comment on. First off, what it is. This is a personal narrative of sorts, but we're calling it a snapshot narrative. You're building off of what you did in your blogs last week a little bit, where you talked about a time that media influenced your life. Now you're going to be taking those moments and really focusing on building, fleshing them out is the phrase I like to use. You take one specific moment from when you watched Charlie's Angels, or you watched Revenge, and you caught yourself going and looking at Farrah Fawcett's hairstyle or the dress that the main character in Revenge was wearing, and really playing up that moment and turning it from here's what happened to really a detailed story, but a snapshot story. So you're going to be writing these segments in a way that you have one story, you're just dropping us into the scene, and then you're moving on and telling us the next. So that's really what your blog posts this week are doing as well, is setting you up for that assignment. And I'll talk about that in just a second. You will see on the assignment sheet, if you look on the right-hand side under logistics, we're doing 4 drafts of this. So you're doing a draft this week that you then will peer review next week, and we'll talk about how that will work when we get there. And then you'll work on another draft once you get some feedback from your peer reviews, and then I will meet with you whether we figure out Skype or anything. And then you'll have a third draft, okay? Something like that. And so the one that you handed to me will somehow be the 4th, and my schedule's all messed up in my head. But it will work out that way. It's 6 to 8 pages, 6 to 8 full pages, not 5 and a half or anything like that. 20% of your grade, so I like even numbers. It's 100 points total, and then I do weighted grading. 70 points for the written text, and 30 for your process memos, which we'll talk about towards the end of this first project, we'll discuss how you do those. Okay, so look at your assignment sheet for anything else. I think that's the main stuff I want you to talk about. But all the stuff we're doing this week will set you up for that. So again, first thing then is look at that assignment prompt and start working on it. But before you really get into that, you can work on your blog for this week, because it's basically having you start your draft, kinda. So your blog post for this week is asking you to, it's asking you to think of these moments. Let me pull this up again. Yay. It's asking you to look at your reading this week. We got a lot of reading this week as far as different things to read, but they're all fairly short. So you're looking at things that are going to set you up for this snapshot essay. So looking at the reading from Sherman Alexie's Indian Education, Annie Dillard's Transfiguration, okay? The Indian Education one is going to show you how to do this snapshot thing. That's the purpose of that. It's going to show you how to take a single moment of something and drop into the action and drop back out. The Dillard piece is going to show you how to do that with a lot of detail, a lot of interesting things. She writes about watching a bug dying in a flame, and it seems like it should be a pretty short thing, like the bug lands in the flame and it burns and dies, right? 3 sentences, or 1 if you have a run-on. But she makes it 3 paragraphs. So it's going to be a great example for you guys of what I'm looking for in that. But I am asking you for the blog to write about 2 moments in your media history. So you can think about what you wrote last week, or you can have completely different things. Write a summary or a sentence about each one, and then under that summary, make it into a snapshot. Flesh that out. So you saw a bug die in a flame, right? Or you watched Charlie's Angels, the first episode you ever watched. That's a summary. Now tell me something that came out of that and turn it into a story. Dialogue, senses, description, everything. So if you're a creative writer, this is kind of for you. And if you look at the blog, I do have a example there. I have to admit, this is not my example. I am borrowing this from another instructor on campus. So this is not my story. This is hers. But she did a really good job, so I'm borrowing it anyway. So that is what I want you to do. If you look at the example that's there, the summary sentence, I remember watching Batman as a kid and being confused why Catwoman wore such an uncomfortable skin-tight outfit. So I designed my own outfit for her. And then you get what's called exploding the moment, taking that simple sentence and turning it into a full-blown kind of movie-like image. So if you think about this as you are going into writing a screenplay for this specific moment, you want to do that kind of thing. You aren't going to do, stage directions and that stuff, but getting as detailed as possible. So that's your blog assignment. Your video assignment is asking you to think more about the terminology we've been using. So I talk about last week's hegemony chapter. This week's hegemony chapter. You're going to read about that more this week. And I'm going to be asking you to think about the terms that are used there. So ideology, semiotics, audience reception, political economy. And then we're going to push beyond what we did last week, where now you guys are going to set out to find an example of one of these things. So like a commercial, a TV show, a song, a movie, anything that is playing up what the ideas behind these terms. So if you look at my example, you can look at the videos. There is a video called Like a Girl from a feminine hygiene company, but what it does is it's showing the way that the phrase like a girl is viewed by older women who have bought into the ideology a bit, versus younger girls who, it's completely different, right? For when we hear the words like a girl, it's usually negative. I was just watching Funniest Home Videos last night, and there was the video that won the big prize at the end was a dad who had a spider land on his shoulder, and he screamed, and his daughter laughs her head off and says, "Dad, you screamed like a little girl." That she's a girl using this phrase and kind of beating down on herself. So it's really interesting to see this. So what you're doing is looking for an example where there is a group that's using an ideology to make another group think of something a certain way. So, like a girl, right? What is the ideology behind that? So then find your example, talk about how this ideology has been pushed, summarize the example basically, and then talk about how the phrase or whatever your example is talking about has been normalized, right? The like a girl thing, so normal that the girl in the Funniest Home Videos didn't even think about how she was almost insulting herself in a way. So talk about it. Sorry, it's, almost 9 o'clock at night. My brain's shutting down. Talk about how your example is, what the ideology is, how it's criticizing it or not, right? The other video is talking about the masculine perspective of My Little Ponies, right? So there's a culture of older men who watch My Little Pony, and is there something wrong with that? And why is there something wrong with that? So your video this week is going to pick out your example, summarize what is being discussed in it, right? Whether it's supporting or refuting whatever that ideology is, and then think about how that ideology is played out in different places and spaces and things like that, okay? So that's that. Your other readings for the week are pretty short and they will be quite interesting. You got a wonderfully titled Shitty First Drafts, which is basically about how when you're writing your first draft, you should never be concerned about how perfect it is, right? You all know this. When you're writing an essay, the first draft is supposed to be crappy. If it's not, then what are you writing more drafts for, right? So it's talking about the process of you write something just to get stuff down on paper, and then you move on to the next draft. You don't waver over it, or you don't stress over it, right? So that's to help you guys in your first drafts of your assignments, to remind you that this is not perfection. This is just getting stuff down on paper. In the same line is At the Gate, which is Watchers at the Gate. So it's about when you're writing stuff and you always feel like someone's looking over your shoulder. Same thing along the lines of the shitty first drafts. Don't worry about what anyone else is thinking. This is your paper at this time. Get the words out, get the ideas out. We will work with stuff afterwards. Then you've got your textbook chapter. I do want to clarify that with the textbook, again, I've linked everything for you this week, so you have the textbook chapter. If you don't have your textbook yet, please try to get it by the end of this week. The blog readings will start to be, here's a page range, pick anything in this page range that you want to read and talk about in your post. So you're going to need a book. Hopefully we can all get it by this week. If not, please do let me know. Okay, I think, oh, one last thing. So with the first drafts, if you look at my suggestion on the weekly calendar, I'd like for you all to do some brainstorming and try to, the easiest way to do this is to make a list, and I suggest pulling out like 10 moments, media moments from your life, and then picking one or two or however many that you'd like to try to flesh out. Remember, this is 6 to 8 pages, so this is not you pick one moment and flesh it out. You have to pick more than that. So come up with a list, pick the ones that most interest you, and then try to flesh those out into your snapshots. And then you'll have your first draft. And of course, the ones that you're doing for your blog post, you can use for your essay if you like them enough. If not, and you want to write completely different ones, then go for it. And as far as that first draft goes, if you want to make your life easier, I would tell you that your blog posts and video for this week, if you get it done by Friday, then you got the weekend to work on the draft. So just plan your time accordingly this week. I think that's all my notes tell me for you guys. So I apologize again for this video quality. I'm trying to be better with them, but the holiday came. So when we have holidays like this, I will say that stuff will get posted on the first official day of the week. So if we have holidays on Mondays, you will not see stuff go up until at the earliest late Monday afternoon. But when we do have class on a Monday, I try to get stuff up by that day. So anyway, sorry for my rambling tonight. I hope you all have a great week. Things go a little more smoothly for those of you that are having some difficulties. Again, please contact me. I do not mind answering questions. And the YouTube thing has changed in the last week, so please see my comment on this week's video post with newer instructions on how to post your video. Anyway, I will stop rambling because I'm way too long on this video. Hope you all have a great week, and I will see you next week in my video. Bye.